Hey everyone, welcome to Sold in CNY with Ben Gray. At the Gray team at eXp Realty, we help people buy and sell homes here in central New York. My guest today is Ronda Ackle from Ackle and Associates law firm, which plays a pivotal role in the buying and selling process. Ronda, thanks for joining us today. Can you give us a little bit of background on your history and your firm?
Well, thank you for having me. I have been an attorney in Central New York for over 35 years. And my firm is about, we're 15, 16 years out. I worked for a lot of people before. I worked in-house at a bank. I worked with other attorneys. I worked with a law firm. Learned the ins and outs of real estate before I got to the point where I said, I think I'm going to do this on my own. Opened up my own office, and my office currently, we have 3 attorneys in the office, myself, Ayman Abraham, and my son Nabil Akil as well. We've got a team of 14 now, 15 great paralegals, all very good at what they do and are basically assisting our clients through the home buying and selling process. We represent buyers, sellers, and lenders. And in Central New York, upstate New York, we are able to represent the lender and the buyer, which is a savings to the buyer. So we can do that dual role. So, yeah. So we're Central New York, homegrown, and glad to be here.
So I'm glad you brought that up to start. Contrary to popular belief, we are helping people move here from Florida. It's not the other way around all the time. So people do move here from Florida. In Florida, it's a title state, and so they can close rather quickly. My mom just sold her house in Florida, closed in 21 days. But in New York, we still have title companies. So can you explain the difference between what your office does as the law side and then the title company here?
Okay. In other states, the dates for closing are drop dead dates, and they've actually eliminated a lot of the research that we do preparing title for closing. So they don't have abstracts of title, rarely have surveys, and basically they do everything through title insurance. So you're buying an insurance policy. We have actual standards here where you get an abstract of title, and it's the history of your property. Each county has different standards of how far back they go, but generally it can go back to the 1800s. And it shows all the transfers. It also would show any liens, encumbrances, judgments. And as the attorney, I'm going to order the title for you for your purchase, but I'm going to examine that title, and I'm going to work with the other attorney to cure those issues. So there's a lot of give and take behind the scenes to cure the title issues. Where I don't want to say we're better, but in title states, they are just insuring over issues. So they'll give you insurance, they'll indemnify each other saying, we don't think this is going to be an issue, and you're insured over. And it's always just basically insured over. Where here, we're actually clearing the issue. Yeah. It's a higher standard. It's good and marketable title, which is a little higher standard than insurable title. So I think what we do here is a little bit harder. But in the end, ideally, there shouldn't the amount of potential claims on a title policy should be less, and therefore our premiums should be lower than other states. The other thing is, in other states, when you have the title company, that title company will work for both sides. So there is no ability to, if you have an issue, then everybody's got to go get attorneys to fix the issue. Here, we've already got the attorneys on site. So if I find that there may be a fence encroachment or something, I can contact the other attorney, say we need a boundary line agreement with the neighbor. We work that out. We get the agreement. We make sure everything is okay. So when you are closing here with your attorney having done the exam for you and work on curing it, you're in a better place. We work, I would say, hand in hand with the title company and not in place of. We each have different roles.
Yeah. So let's step back just a moment to get to the beginning of the process, and then we'll work our way to that title part. But when a buyer or a seller goes under contract, in our contract that we use, there's something called the attorney approval, so that buyers and sellers don't need to run it by their attorney first. Can you break down what that attorney approval clause is meant for, and how buyers or sellers can have confidence in that clause?
Initially, it's meant for one to from the legal end is to make sure that you're not practicing law. So the buyer has the opportunity to have an attorney review it. And in the Central New York contract, it's a 3-day window, not including day of receipt, 3 business days. So it gives you the opportunity. And people realize that sometimes we need those 3 days because I may have a client who's traveling and I'm trying to get a hold of them. In our office, we speak to every client before we send an approval. No approval or disapproval is sent out without a conversation with the client. And it's our second set of eyes to go over with the client what it is they've agreed to. I'm not questioning whether or not they waived a home inspection based on the business circumstances. You're one of 8 offers. Everyone's waiving. If you don't waive, you're not going to get the deal. I'm not questioning. I'm just confirming with the client that they understand that they have waived it. Yes, the contract offers them some protections about the condition of the property, but just that they understand that. And that, we get a lot of questions at that intake as well. The client may say, I want to add my wife to title. How does that work? And then at that point we can make the correction and say, yes, we should have her added to the contract. We'll ask for an addendum. So it's our chance to make some repairs. It isn't, though, a chance to rewrite the contract. I'm not in the position at that point telling the client we're going to rewrite the purchase price or anything. We will clarify things. If it says, patio equipment to remain, I may clarify and say, that means table, 4 chairs, an umbrella, just to clarify. But I'm not going to renegotiate the transaction because it is my understanding that it is the realtors who have negotiated that transaction. They've negotiated the price and terms. And we're not in that realm of rewriting. We're there for clarifying. But I had one case where recently where a client found out that after they signed the contract that they no longer had employment, and this was in the window, but we're hoping to have something lined up. Didn't want it to be public knowledge. It just was an uncomfortable situation. They asked for a contract disapproval, and I did disapprove the contract. And the reason for the disapproval, and now I'm talking general, it's a hypothetical case. I don't have to share that because that's attorney-client privilege. So if the client is in a situation that is uncomfortable, that they don't want it shared, I don't because it's privileged.
So once we get the attorney approval, let's say we're working with a seller. You've talked to the seller, and the seller says, yes, these are all the terms and conditions that we agreed to. You approve the contract. What happens next on your end?
We get working because it's our job to track down that abstract of title, again, that history of the property, and it's our job to track down a survey map and get those updated. And those have to be ordered quickly. I actually, in my office, have one person that is dedicated to doing that all day. All day long, that's their job. He tracks down based on what the deeds, what the client has in their paperwork. They may or may not have enough paperwork to give us information. We check the deeds at the courthouse, and we track down. If we cannot locate that abstract, we get one ordered right away because it could take 3 to 4 weeks to get done.
Where's the abstract usually held? Is it at a title company? Is it at another attorney's company?
Ideally, it's with a title company.
Okay.
Most, 90% of everybody in Central New York keeps them with title companies. I've been practicing for a long time, and I leave them with title companies. There are a couple that attorneys hold. There's a couple attorneys' offices that hold them, and you have to call and ask for it. But we'll usually be able to locate it at the title company and then get it updated. I've had clients that want to hold their own abstracts as long as they understand the value of it, because it's not just that it's expensive to recreate, which can be done. It can be recreated. It's just, it takes time. And when you're in a crunch and you say, we've got 6 weeks to close, I can't lose 3 weeks having an abstract created. And then I've got to look at that abstract and check for any title issues I have to cure before I send it over to the other attorney. So it's not just getting it. It has to be checked, cured, and given to the other attorney. Same thing with a survey map. We surveyors get busy in the summer. We are quite fortunate. We have several good surveyors in Central New York, but it's a long process to become a licensed surveyor in New York. And you have to apprentice for X number of years and all of that. So there aren't a huge number of people going into the business. Yeah. So we want to make sure and get those ordered right away. Because as your attorney on the sale end, I check the abstract, I just check the survey. If there are things that have to be fixed, we've got to get those fixed, so I need the time to do the fix. So, but it's also, sometimes there's surprises, and we had a lot of, for example, one surprise that's come up, a lot of people who during COVID and everything got behind on mortgages, and some of the bailout on that was basically HUD took whatever you owed, that little extra that you were behind on, and threw it on as a second mortgage, and then just said continue making your mortgage payments. But what happened was no one got monthly statements for that second mortgage. It could have been $8,000 second mortgage, and they never got monthly statements for it because it was to be paid off when you sell the house. So now we get the abstract in, and I get the pleasure of calling the client saying there's a HUD second mortgage on. We've got to order that payoff, and the client, may or may not recall that was how that was done, and so that takes a little bit longer to get that payoff.
So you order the abstract, you order the survey, you wait for those to come in. Those come in, and then you review those to see if there's any defects or anything that needs to be cured. And then you send that to the buyer's attorney?
Yeah,
Is that the
we
process?
prepare a proposed deed. We prepare all the proposed documents so they see, and we send them to the buyer's attorney. We also order any payoffs of anything, any mortgages that have to be paid off, cure the issues, request real estate commission statements so that we have everything. And we send everything over to the other attorney to examine. That attorney, upon receiving that package, will examine the title and then order the title insurance if there's a loan or if they're getting it on the owner's policy. We'll order it. That takes time as well. So that's why we have to move very quickly when we're on the sale end, because we don't have the luxury of time, because we've got to give the other attorney time to do their job as well. So
now I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. When you're representing a buyer and you get that title package, how long does that sit on your desk?
It goes out to the title examiner same day it comes in.
Okay, so you have another company that's examining the title.
I have an examiner that works for me as well. So I've got myself, an examiner, and the title company. So we turn it around within 24 hours of getting it out for examination, because I can't wait to examine. I can't have it sit for days, because we've had it come back saying that there is something missing in the chain or something. So we may have to even send it back to the abstractor to fix something.
That sounds like the boringest job I've ever heard of.
An examiner?
A title examiner, yeah. Yeah. Is that not boring?
It's actually can be kind of cool when you're fixing a problem.
Sure.
Because I get kind of excited when we're figuring out an issue and we've come to a resolution of it. But there aren't that many good ones in Central New York. We have a few in the area still. Yeah. It's very specialized, and it's kind of like sauce. When somebody's making sauce, it's like you keep adding stuff to it until you get it right. I can't give you a rule book on what you need to look at for exam. You check the chain, you check the descriptions, you check for easements, but every time you might see something different. And until you've run across that situation, you just keep adding it to your experience. So most of the really good examiners in Central New York have been doing this a long time. Yeah.
So is that a person in your office that your firm employs, or is that a contract?
It's a combination. Office? It's a combination. Okay. So we have a combination in the office and out of the office. So it's hard to do everything in office when we're seasonal. We love Central New York. I love all four seasons, but people buy more houses in spring and summer and the fall than they do in the winter. So because of that, we have to make adjustments so we can meet the needs as quickly as we can.
So on the seller's side, you get the title package, you send it to the buyer's attorney. The buyer's attorney reviews it, gets the title policy taken care of and everything. And then what happens after that, Rhonda?
If they're getting a mortgage, that buyer's attorney will have to submit the title to the lender. Many lenders want to okay title as well as loan. So there are two clearances that you get when somebody's getting a mortgage. You get loan clearance and you get title clearance. Loan clearance means, Ben, we've checked your employment, we've checked your income, we looked at your taxes, we appraised the house, we're loan ready. But they also need title clearance. So they want that title insurance policy to take a look at it to make sure there's no title issues and that the title is going to be satisfactory to the lender. So once all that is submitted to the bank, they get the title clearance, and they say that at that point in time, they're ready to schedule. Okay? And depending on the notices they've given, because the buyer all along has been getting estimates. I mean, I think 5, 6, 7 times they're getting loan estimates because anytime anything changes, they're getting those estimates. If they've given that notice, we then can schedule. Okay? And so buyer's attorney contacts. If the buyer's attorney is also the bank attorney, they just contact the bank. If they are dealing with a separate bank attorney, they contact the bank attorney, ask them what are the next available dates now that we have loan and title clearance. They're given dates, they contact the seller's attorney. We all coordinate with our clients. In the meantime, as a seller's attorney, what I've done is I have my clients come into my office ahead of time. We don't wait until we're scheduling to bring them in. I bring them in as early as I can to pre-sign all of their documents, and I hold them in escrow in my office. That gives me maximum flexibility for scheduling so that I'm not holding up scheduling or closing. You know, my client may because of their mover or whatever, but our office isn't going to be. So all of these are, the way I look at it, as efficiencies that we put in place to be able to do what we do as quickly as we can and still deliver the service to our clients.
So we get the loan clearance, and then we get the title clearance. And is that when we have that? That's when we get the clear to close.
We get the official clear to close, and then you schedule.
And then you schedule.
And once you've scheduled, there's still more work that has to be done. As a seller's attorney, you prepare what is called the statement of sale. So you prepare the figures adjusting. Purchase price, tax adjustments, a deposit is credited, mortgage payoff is credited, realtor commissions are credited. We do everything here in Central New York through debits and credits. So we credit it all against the purchase price with the seller getting a net. We then give that over to the buyer and bank attorney. They check it. May ask us, say, hey, you forgot about a credit for this or whatever. We make those adjustments. They then prepare their final settlement statement with the lender called the CD, closing disclosure. Even though the buyer's been getting estimated ones, they actually have to do a final one. And once that final one is approved by the lender and the bank attorney, they then give the buyer their figures of what they have to bring to closing. And at that point, the actual closing happens. We are still a wet closing area. Wet closing meaning we actually need the buyer's signature on that mortgage because New York is extremely litigious, even though they did put in a possibility for a remote notary in New York. I don't know any lenders that are currently willing to accept remotely notarized mortgages and take that risk. We have had people who are not able to make it here. I've had people who military got shipped out, things like that. We've had to ship them documents to sign in Nebraska or somewhere and then get them back to us. But 99% of the clients actually have to come into the office of the bank attorney to sign the documents. And it's because, let's be honest, the bank is lending you $300,000 to buy a house. They want your actual signature in front of a notary on that document. Yeah.
So on the seller side, they come in, they sign their paperwork, they might close a week or two after. When do sellers get that big check? Like, when do they get to cash out?
Typically, it's within 24 to 48 hours of closing.
And is it normally wired? Do they get a physical check?
Well, wires are extremely dangerous, okay? We are very cautious with wires. There's a lot of wire fraud going on out there, and people need to be very, very careful. Be very careful of your emails. Your attorney will never ask you to wire what you need for closing, and that will never offer. We're not offering to wire. If the client asks us to wire their funds, we will typically take their funds into our office, into our account. We then have to verify the client's wiring instructions twice, and then we can wire to them. We much rather have them take the checks, but we will offer that as a service to our clients, but we're never going to initiate that or require it. Because again, what's happening is the people that are committing fraud are very, very good at it. What they do is somebody's email is compromised, and oftentimes it's not the secure email of the lender or the attorney or even the realtor's secure email. It's somebody using a Yahoo account or whatever, some account that's not very well secured, and then they'll just monitor, and as they get close to the closing, they will then mimic somebody's email, whether it be the bank attorney, the realtor, and say, Dear Ben, we know your closing's tomorrow. We don't want you to bring a check anymore. Please wire it to us. Here's the instructions. And it looks really official, but it's a scam. So we tell everybody, and it's right in every single email I send out in my signature line, we will never ask you to wire, or offer without the client requesting it, because it's so dangerous right now. And once wires aren't like checks, once it's wired, it's gone. You can't get it back. So, and there have been cases of that happening. So we're really careful with that. And again, we ask our clients to verify the information, and it can't be just here, copy it down from my screenshot. We actually need it confirmed. But yes, and especially say, for example, somebody is moving, they're selling their home and they're moving and they're going to be buying in another state. At that point, I'll work it out with their settlement agent in the other state, and we can work out getting those funds so that they can complete their purchase. We'd much rather them, though, be wiring into our account from another state and moving to Central New York.
Sure. Yeah.
we want people moving here.
Yeah, a lot easier.
So those are a lot more fun, and we're always happy to welcome a whole wide variety of interesting people to Central New York.
Yeah.
We've become a destination.
We have. Yeah, we recently helped somebody move here from Houston and bought a house sight unseen via video tour. And he had to have somebody other than myself do the final walkthrough. We couldn't do a final walkthrough on video. So he came in town because, we wouldn't do the walkthrough on video. So he came in town for the final walkthrough. And but when I asked him, why'd you move here? He said, well, I just did some research and Syracuse looked like a good place to live, which was really great.
We have all four seasons. We have recreation. We have festivals. We have activities. Our housing prices are still very reasonable. We have a plethora of really great school districts in the area. You want small school, you want big school, you want sports school, you want academic school. They're all here. We also have the luxury of being centrally located so that within a 2-hour radius, your young adult can choose a university or college or have college experience within a 2-hour radius. I mean, you're not going clear across the country. They're coming here, from other parts of the country to go to school here. And I don't know, I just find it's a great place. And I'm excited to see some of the things that are going on with the development, with the innovations that are happening, the construction that's happening. Although I'm not crazy about the highway construction going on right now, or it'll be over soon, I hope. But it's exciting to see that. And for example, I live 15, 20 minutes from my office, and I'm in the country, you would say.
Yeah.
I've got beautiful grass all around me, and I don't know anywhere else that you can be that close and have that, or if I wanted city living, it's so many beautiful places, and all of the development that's happening now with all of the buildings that are all being turned into condominiums and everything. We have more people living in the city now than we ever have. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. On the buyer side, some of our buyers get frustrated, Rhonda. And I'm not saying like this is your office, but the buyers get frustrated with not knowing how much to bring to closing until like hours before closing. Why is that? And is there any way to make that process better?
I wish I had the magic bullet on that one. It was supposed to be that they had all their figures ahead of time, and they are getting estimates ahead of time. They're getting those loan estimates multiple times ahead of time, but they're not finalized because we have to finalize it to the exact number of days of interest, the exact number of days of tax adjustments, and all of that till the very last minute. And it depends on how quickly the bank package is released to their attorney.
So whose responsibility who gets the final numbers to the buyer? Is it the lender or is it the attorney?
The in We've talked about buyer's attorney, we've talked about seller's attorney. We also have lender attorney. That can often be the buyer's attorney. Okay. From my office, we represent over 20 different banks. So we are often the same. And we do that because it gives our clients savings. We give them a break on their fee. But sometimes you may have a buyer attorney, seller attorney, and a lender attorney. So they're working with the lender attorney to get the final figure. That lender attorney is we call it balancing the closing disclosure, which means we get the figures from the lender, and then we have to check them. And if there's a mistake, we tell them there's a mistake. You're off on the mortgage tax, or you this. And we go back and forth and check and balance it. And unfortunately, that can take a bit with some lenders. With other lenders, it's faster. Everyone's a little different, but it's for the benefit of the borrower to make sure the numbers are accurate. Because if they're not, they're going to cut to closing and find out they don't have enough money, or there's something was missed, and then they're contacted the day after closing saying, oh, we missed this fee or that fee. Nobody wants that. And the other stress about the closing is to get to that closing, they were so nervous because our closing dates are on or about. So you're already working with somebody who was very anxious, couldn't have a set date until we got close to closing, finally got their date, and then may get their numbers the night before or the morning of final figures. But we always tell the client to please check your estimates. Your estimates are pretty close. They really shouldn't vary too much, and it's really just variances on the taxes and interest. So.
Yeah. So here's some rapid fire questions.
All right.
On the seller's side, when should they reach out to an attorney?
Ideally, if they're going to list a house, I would love for them to reach out and establish that, hey, Rhonda's going to be my attorney, so they could tell the realtor's going to want to know, so they know. And then we can start looking for their paperwork, like maybe checking to see if we can locate that abstract. Because oftentimes we'll get a call saying, I'm listing the house, it's going to be hot, it's going to sell quick. See if you can get the abstract found and updated. And we'll do that ahead of time. I'd say that if that happens in some cases. Most people are contacting us once a contract is signed. And at that point, we're rushing, but we can do it. But ideally, if a seller's going to list, we'd love to be contacted right when they're going to speak to their agent to list, so that they can tell their agent who their attorney is, and two, we can get a head start on locating the title work.
How often should a buyer or seller plan on hearing from the attorney's office?
Several times through the process. Initially to review the contract, follow up to locate, say we're talking about seller, to locate title documents. Follow up again if we haven't gotten any information so we can order their payoff. Coordinating on getting them into the office. So there will be many times throughout the process that you're being contacted by the office, but I always tell clients, never worry about contacting us. If you have a question, a concern, please contact us. I would rather you contact me than for it to be a problem later. So, for example, a contract says you're supposed to leave the appliances, and turns out that the refrigerator broke a couple weeks before closing. Contact us. We'll tell you, hey, you have to have a working refrigerator. Please get it fixed. But those questions, we want those questions, because the last thing I want is, and you want as a realtor, is that walkthrough happens and they find out the refrigerator's broke because nobody said anything. So we're always there to help assist in it. Sometimes you might contact the buyer and say, listen, our refrigerator isn't working anymore. Do you want to choose one of your own and we'll give you a credit, or do you want us to? But those all can be taken care of with a phone call. So we tell people, don't be afraid to call us, because real estate attorneys and residential, we're working on a flat fee arrangement. So you're not going to get charged more calling your attorney or emailing your attorney. It's all part of the flat fee. So because people were trained, every time you call an attorney in a other matter, they're charging you per phone call.
There are some attorneys that still do that.
In real estate?
In real estate,
okay.
Locally.
Okay. Well, we haven't done that. We believe that the pricing is fair. If there is something that's over and above the standard real estate transaction, you need an agreement drafted for a possession, or you need something over and above, we'll quote them and let them know. But generally, we try to stick to our quoted rate because it's
So,
just easier.
what's a ballpark or a range of the quoted rate?
We're Most attorneys right now are charging in, I'd say, $700 to $1,200 is what you're looking at in the range for representation. I think there's only a couple of stragglers that are still in the lower end, 700. I remember speaking to an attorney, very well respected, knows his stuff, good attorney, and I said, "You are undervaluing your services," because he really didn't know what he was doing. He's like, "I'm going to retire in a couple of years. I don't have a secretary. It's just me." I was like, okay, but at that, his ability to represent, he's only going to be able to do X number of files because of the time frame. We try to keep it fair. We have also advised the client initially, right at that first call, exactly what your fee is going to be. There's no surprise. We also follow it up with a letter. So the client is being advised right from the get-go what that is. And again, this is your single biggest purchase or sale you're going to make. You want quality representation.
Yeah. So just a couple minutes on, because we have some real estate agents that follow, a couple minutes on what an attorney would love to have from a real estate agent from their side.
Okay. Ideally, I would love when you send over a contract for approval, I would love a cheat sheet of contact information for the client and any information that you can share. For example, client works nights, because I don't want to be the one waking them up for my phone call. At that point, if they're working nights, I'll call them at 9 or 10 in the morning before they get to bed to go over their contract. Or client's a teacher. I won't try to call them during school. I'll call them after 3 o'clock. Things like that, and any other information that you may have. And you're in their houses when you take their listing. So if they have a folder and it includes an abstract and survey, I would love for you to drop that off to my office. That you're boots on the ground, you're in their houses. So please, any of that information you can share. As well, give them enough time to get their financing and closing. I know everybody wants a 30-day close, but ideally we are at 6 to 8 weeks. 30 days is optimistic. We'd love to do it, but don't create a situation where you're setting the buyers and the sellers up for disappointment. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised to get them closed early because everybody worked quickly than disappoint them because they were counting on a 30-day. It's challenging to get it because, again, as I explained earlier, all the people have to do their job. And the other thing is call and ask. If you're not sure how to name somebody, or you're not sure how you're taking a listing, who owns the property, does mom have life use or not, call. We'll pull a deed from the courthouse. We do that all day long. We'll tell you exactly how to put it in there. We'll also tell you, if it's a trust or an estate, you don't need a property condition disclosure. I mean, there's things that we can do to help clients, realtors out when they're taking the listing. And the other thing is with your buyers, when you're working with buyers, make sure they're working with trusted lenders. Just because the last thing you want is, because you're tied to that transaction, if you bring a buyer and then find out that they can't get the financing, vet your lenders. And you're not doing that because you're trying to move your buyer from one lender to another. You're not favoring a lender. You just want a lender that actually understands local taxes and our market and can give the client the mortgage that they need. So.
Are you comfortable sharing any of your pet peeves with us?
Pet peeves. It really drives me absolutely crazy when I have no idea that the client never planned on coming to Central New York for closing. We've had a couple of surprises, and I've had multiple conversations with them, but they were never coming. At that point, we had to make alternative arrangements. wanting to add somebody to the title at the last minute. Lenders are not allowing that anymore. Even a spouse, they need to know ahead of time. So if you're not sure or you want it, you need to have that conversation because we can't make any last minute adjustments. And then especially with listings, I found out that subjective is clean is subjective. People are not clearing out their houses.
Very subjective.
They are not taking their stuff with them, and they're underestimating the time it takes to move out. So we're running into a lot of situations where I've actually had one case where we delayed a closing for our seller so they could move everything out, and we delayed it a whole week, and they still didn't get everything out.
So that's something that us as real estate professionals, we can have that conversation at the very beginning. These are the expectations. When you get your real estate license and you take the introductory class at the MLS, the board attorney talks about that and explains it very clear what's personal property and what's real property. And if you take the house and you flip it upside down, anything that falls is personal property and needs to go prior to the sale being closed.
Yeah, we even when our sellers come into our office to sign those documents, I have a document that explains, don't cut off. Oh, that's the other pet peeve. Don't cut off your power. Don't call National Grid until we've closed. Just because a shutoff could just tank the closing because the heating, plumbing, electric have to be operational during walkthrough. So we have a sheet that says don't cut off your power until we call you and say it's closed. What's one more day of, I know it's expensive lately, but one more day of National Grid will save your closing. And we tell them to take your personal property with you. Also to check the contract about what's supposed to stay. The contract says washer, dryer, refrigerator, stove stay. Don't take them. So we go over that with them. So I know we're doing that. I know the realtors are doing that. I don't know that buyers are hearing it, I don't know the sellers are hearing it. So we usually end up working hand in hand with the realtors at the 11th hour, working out adjustments, and whether it be adjusting time for people to get things out or credits for people to do that. But yeah, that tends to be happening a lot.
Yeah,
and like you said, your realtors are trained, and I don't doubt they're having those conversations with you. There's these sellers. I know we're having them. It's just it's happening.
Yeah, probably need to have them a little bit more and a little bit more clear as well.
Well, I've also heard that it's a really good idea that the listing agent do a pre-closing walkthrough before the walkthrough, meaning we're going to close on Monday, that the listing agent, make a trip out there, check the house on Saturday to make sure it's in a condition for the buyer's walkthrough on Sunday, and it gives them a chance to at least address it. We also have a lot of new agents in Central New York. It's great to see the new blood and the excitement, and I'm really impressed by the social media for a lot of these agents. They're doing a really great job. But I think until they've run into the experience, you have to have that client that stresses you to be able to then see what could happen because they've been lucky up until now. So
yeah, the hard transactions make you a better agent.
I think so. I think so. As an attorney too. We're careful in what we do based on our experience. We're the sum total of our experiences, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything that again, back to the sauce. It all goes into the sauce, and I can't tell you every ingredient, but all those ingredients made us who we are.
Yeah. We had one of my most difficult clients was a doctor who was leaving here to move out of state. And he told me from the get-go, I'm going to be your hardest client because that was just his personality. Wanted to know the numbers, wanted to know everything about everything. And he wasn't being a jerk about it. He was just being him. That's his personality. And I think as agents, which you as attorneys probably do this as well, you read your clients to see what their personality is. And then that kind of gauges how you handle that client. Everybody's a little bit different, and so you have to handle a little bit different. But that particular seller of ours, he made me such a better agent because he asked me questions that nobody asked me. So when I go to listing appointments now, I can have those answers ready in case they do get asked or they don't get asked. But the hard clients.
The hard clients
Yeah.
make you better.
Yeah.
We just wish there were fewer of them. That's all.
Absolutely. Yes.
But no, they and as you know, looking back on it, we've come so far from where we were. I mean, everything now is happening immediately, where and our clients are expecting it. You know, I've been practicing a long time, but I remember faxes. We were getting contracts in by fax, and now nothing is faxed except for payoff letters. Banks are still faxing payoff letters because that is a safer way to send a payoff letter, by the way. So now everything is by email. You know, I may get something in. We may say, you guys work something out. I'll be with Ben. We need an addendum. Within 15 minutes, you can have it electronically signed by everybody and get us the addendum we need. I've had it done in the middle of a closing when the bank has said, we're okay with the credit, but we need the addendum. So in the middle of a transaction, I'm having everybody sign. The realtors are getting everybody electronically sign an addendum to satisfy the lender so we can finish our closing. So that speed of being able to do that, that's unbelievable. We've come a very long way to do that. And as well, as fast as we can get the abstracts, we're getting there. They're getting faster on the abstracts, as well as the surveys. But they still do. I mean, your surveyor still has to go out there. They have to actually measure.
Have to be there, yeah.
So there's some things that can't get done faster.
Rhonda, any final thoughts for the three categories: buyers, sellers, or real estate professionals?
For buyers, real estate still is a wonderful investment. We are Central New York. We didn't have the ups and the downs that California has or anywhere else. We have been steady, and it's been a steady return on your money. So it is still cheaper and wealth building and gets you in a better position to own versus renting. Okay, because as an owner, you're building that equity in that property, and then you can take it to another property or retire or whatever. So that, as for buyers, go out there and buy. And rates are going up and down. It doesn't matter really, because when you do the math, you figure out your housing expense. You're going to have to pay to live somewhere, unless you're in your mom's basement. You're going to live somewhere. Okay, so you're going to have a housing expense, and then when the rates drop, refinance. It happens. For sellers, the market has changed. You're not getting everything you want anymore, and buyers are getting inspections. There is even something on the table they're talking about now. New York State is considering mandatory waiting period for home inspections. So don't be afraid of them. It's your safety. It's net to know that if your buyer had a home inspection and then they later call and say they had a problem with the house, you say you had a home inspection. It's a protection for everybody. So the market's balancing. So whereas sellers used to be able to just put it on the market and pick from the lot of the best offers and everyone was waiving everything, we're getting some balance back. And for realtors, especially the new realtors, pair up with some experienced agents because we're now in a market where it's not as easy as it was. People are not just making offers and buying houses because they need a house. Their buyers are being more careful. And sellers are having to do some work to sell their house. And so we're in a balanced market. So team up with some experienced agents who are going to help guide you, attorneys that are going to take your call and help you out and answer your questions. I had one simple question this morning about how to name the administrator. It wouldn't fit on the line. It was and I gave her the shorthand. Literally, this agent was so happy because it was just nobody told her the shorthand on how to put it for the signature line. So because we want them coming in correct.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to give that. I call it triage. I'd rather do triage than on a deal before than try to fix it later.
Yeah.
So.
Rhonda, that's been great. Great information, very helpful.
Appreciate it.
And I would say I'm looking forward to having you on again, but I think next time we're going to have to invite your son, Nabil.
Oh, you're going to have Nabil.
Just to see if he contradicts anything that you told us. That's it.
Nabil's been doing well, and he's been working a lot with investors too. So he has a little bit of background and give you a little bit about buying the, the multifamily. And that is a great opportunity for anybody who wants to build wealth. To buy a multifamily, live in one, rent the other, have your tenant pay your mortgage. And, in a few years, maybe move to another house. But it's a great opportunity. And we're seeing a lot of his generation that are doing it. And for me, warms my heart because I love this place. I love Central New York. And I love living here. I love raising my family here, and I love watching people move in here. And I always, question the client when I'm like, "Where are you coming from, and what brings you here?" And I just love finding out. And Nabil's just like that. Of course, he's got a running list of all the restaurants to try and places to go. So he's great at selling Central New York as well.
Yeah, that's great.
So, okay.
All right, thank you, Ronda.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for taking the time to watch. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Central New York area, please reach out to us. And if you're a real estate agent and you're looking to work with a team that supports you, please give us a call.